Okay, our final presentation before we have a quick break. So Anne-Marie is the CRO lead at VodafoneZiggo. We have been blessed with her presence today because she has traveled all the way from the Netherlands to be with us. Her interesting fact is that her and her partner love to travel to uncharted countries, especially islands, I've heard. So Reunion Island, Svalbard, and the Faroe Islands. And actually, it's also her first time in Saudi, although it's not quite an island. So please welcome onto the stage, Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Sahana, for the lovely introduction. And thank you so much for having me here. This is really special for me to be in Saudi Arabia for the first time. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to grow your CRO conversion rate optimization program. Now, I am curious because this is the first time that I have been in Saudi Arabia. So I don't know anything about the maturity of CRO here. So I just want to have a show of hands, like who already has experience with conversion rate optimization? Improving your website based on data. Okay, couple, good. And how many of you are already running experiments, A/B tests on your website? A bit less, okay, good to know. Well, I think maybe in the Netherlands, and we may be a bit more advanced already in that sense, but I think my story will be inspirational to you as well. Whether if you're already running experiments, or you just started doing so, or you have the ambition to do so. So let's dive right in. 4.5 years ago, I started my job at VodafoneZiggo, a big corporate organization in the Netherlands, here in this head office in Utrecht. And I was approached by my current colleague through LinkedIn, and he said, well, we have been working on conversion rate optimization for the last 2 years, and we are actually ready for a next step. And in this next step, many more CRO specialists would be recruited, and what we call a CRO Center of Excellence would be created. That Center of Excellence would be responsible for the conversion rate optimization strategy, tool selection, trainings, and standardization of the process. And he was looking for a partner in that Center of Excellence, if I would be interested. Well, duh, otherwise I wouldn't be here. And so the role was, like in the Netherlands, there are not that many companies that take CRO this seriously, and the role was new, which meant that there was still a lot of room for my own vision and my own input. So as you can imagine, that first day when I started at VodafoneZiggo, I was full of energy and determination to make VodafoneZiggo like the new Booking.com or Amazon. A girl can dream, right? So when I started at VodafoneZiggo with running experiments, they were already doing a decent job. In the first year, we started in 2017, we already did 41 experiments. And in the next year, that amount already doubled, almost doubled, to 71. And then we had in the first year, we had 2 specialists working on experimentation and data-driven working. And in 2018, 4. Well, in that reorganization, we actually got 9 new CRO positions. 7 that would be working in the teams, and 2 in that so-called Center of Excellence. So we had 11 specialists working in the teams, running experiments. Anyone wants to take a guess how many tests we have done in 2019? Shout, anything. How many? Well, we did 117. So with 7 new specialists, we only managed to get 46 more tests. You could say that we're doing a really shitty job in attracting the right people, like our HR maybe not that good, but we believe it also had to do with the reorganization. Teams were all new, they needed to work together again smoothly, and we hired 4 junior specialists. So we still had to train them in everything that they do with CRO. But still, not the uplift we were hoping for. And then after 2020, the number of experiments grew year over year. But still, by far not at the levels of a Booking.com or Amazon, because as you might know, they are running 10,000s of experiments per year. So what's the reason for this? That this doesn't work yet at VodafoneZiggo. Well, as I already mentioned, VodafoneZiggo is a big, large, corporate organization with a lot of legacy, a lot of silos. People don't talk to each other somehow. And, let's face it, colleagues that are really set in their ways and their working methods. Working with data is something new, it's scary, and you need to convince people why they should actually worry about A/B testing. So there are different forces at play than, for instance, if you work at a small startup or at a company where the data-driven mind, the data-driven way of working is already there from the start. But today I will share with you an approach that has worked for us to at least increase the number of experiments year after year. Well, the thing is, to get straight to the point, to make CRO or CX or data-driven, whatever you call it, bigger in your organization, it is necessary to start acting like a product marketeer. And the definition of product marketing, that it is the positioning and communication about the product. It aims to stimulate demand for what you want. And that's what we want with conversion rate optimization. We want more colleagues to be, that they want to run experiments. So how do you do that? The first step, and the first thing that you need to get right is your value proposition. Why should your stakeholders or your colleagues care about experimentation and data-driven working? To indicate the importance of A/B testing within VodafoneZiggo, this was always the slide that we showed to our stakeholders. We would first ask, like, how many of your ideas are good ideas? Sahana. All of them, exactly. Because otherwise, we wouldn't have suggested them, right? We don't want to look like a fool. But then, when we look at all the experiments that we already have done at VodafoneZiggo, and we see that at different companies as well, only 30% of your ideas are actually good. They drive revenue, they drive growth. 50% doesn't even move the needle, but we put a lot of resources and focus on it. And 20% is actually counterproductive. Well, this revelation can either go one or two ways. Some stakeholders would like, okay, we're going to double down on the number of experiments. We need to find out which 30 is actually good. But it can also be a real buzzkill, really demotivating for your team. Because guess what? People don't really like it when you tell them that they don't do a good job. That they actually are, that's basically what we're doing. We are saying, you suck at your job. Not the best thing to talk to your manager in that way. So this is probably not the best way how to communicate, how to improve the number of experiments. And actually the same applies to slides like these ones. Like, we want to be the new Amazon, we want to be the new Booking, the new Googles of this world, LinkedIn doing 10,000 of experiments. This can be inspirational to some, but to others, it may feel like, yeah, but oh my God, 10,000 experiments? We're doing like 40 now. So how do we get there? It's not within reach. And if something doesn't feel within reach, users are, your stakeholders won't be motivated to start with it. So what should you do? Anyone knows who this guy is? Who is it? A surgeon, yes. He's a surgeon from a hospital series called New Amsterdam. And his name is Max Goodwin. And I believe we should all be a bit more like Max. Because Max has a catchphrase. Do you also know what catchphrase is? No. The catchphrase is, how can I help? So instead of bossing your stakeholders around, telling them what to do and what not to do, you should ask them questions. Like, okay, so what's your goal? What's your vision? What are you working on? What do you worry about? And then, how can conversion rate optimization help towards getting to that goal? So you need to change the framing of A/B testing. Not you're doing it all wrong, but you're already doing a good job, but you can be even better. A slide that has worked for us very well, actually, is this one. What you see in this graph is on the horizontal axis, you see the number of ideas. Like, if you have 100 ideas, and your base conversion rate is 2%. Now we know if you would implement all the ideas that you have, you will grow in the end, like roughly 26% after 100 ideas. Because you know, 30% is going to increase your sales, 50% is not going to do anything, and 20% is hurting your business. So in the end, you are going to grow. So you can say to yourself, we're already doing a good job if we implement everything. We are going to grow, but we can do better. If we were to test already 20% of all the ideas that we have, then you see that your growth rate has almost doubled already, just by checking what works and doesn't work. But you still see that there are dips in these graphs. Oh, this doesn't work, okay. So you're still implementing features that are actually hurting the business, and you spend a lot of resources on things that actually don't drive any value, so it's not very efficient. So what happens if you test everything? Your growth rate will be more than 150%. This is what's called the compounding effect. You only implement things that are good. And this clearly shows the value proposition of CRO. If you run more experiments on your website, you will grow more and faster. Now, the second aspect of product marketing is that you need to get, so you have your value proposition, you know why we are doing it. Then the question is about how are we going to promote it? Because if nobody knows about your product, they're not going to use it. So what we have tried in the past is just give an inspiration session about the merits and benefits of A/B testing. But we have learned the hard way that that is not enough. Like one session, and then people will change their way of how they worked before. Nah, that's a fairy tale. So what we need, just with advertising, we need the mere exposure effect. And the mere exposure effect says, if you come in contact with something more often, you will automatically like it more. And when you like it more, you're more inclined to use it. So we need that. So one of the things that we do within VodafoneZiggo is what we call a guess the A/B test. We do this every week in our weekly demo. And in this demo, all the teams can share what they have worked on in the last week. And we will share a test of the week. Just a simple A versus B with an hypothesis, and then we let the audience guess. Now you can guess. So we have, this is the checkout of Vodafone. So you selected your phone, you go to the cart, you fill out some details, and then you come to this part of the website. Now this first call to action, the red one, this is actually the call to action we want people to click on. That's to proceed. The one below it is back. Go back one step in the process. And we thought by making the back button less prominent, we expect that the click-through rate and sales will increase because users will be less distracted by this button. We want them to proceed. So, a show of hands, who thinks A actually drove more sales? Who thinks B drove more sales? The majority, yes. We thought so too. B cost us 4% in sales. This clearly shows that we actually are very bad at predicting what customers want. And we need A/B testing to make better decisions. Actually, 20% was using this back button, so they really feel like they need the autonomy to go back and forth in the process. But still, so we did not implement this. That would be not such a good idea for the business. And we cannot share every A/B test in such a demo because we do 300 a year, so you will be like overwhelmed with all these tests. But we do need to update our stakeholders of all the conclusions and learnings that we have. So what do? We send out emails. We'll also send out emails that look like this, like a lot of text, a lot of details. Come on, I'm not the only one. Well, as a CRO specialist or analyst, we love the nitty-gritty about every analysis that we do, all the small findings that we find. We want to share everything. Your stakeholder probably couldn't care less. They only want to know, is it a winner or not? And do I need to implement it? Will it drive sales? Will it drive money? Well, it's in here somewhere, but this is a classic case of too long, didn't read, blah. So it's the same with advertising. If your advertisement looks like this, nobody's going to buy your product. So what we did is we changed this email to this. The same information is in here, but it's far more visual. You can scan it. You can immediately see, is it a winner or not? Why did we test it? What were the learnings? What was the impact on our KPIs? And how did the test look like? So we need it more visual. We also update the whole organization every month with all of the things that we do within the conversion rate optimization chapter. And so this is our monthly progress report. As you can see, it is formatted as an infographic, exactly for the same reason. It needs to be appealing so that people want to read the email that you send out. And we don't put it in an attachment, so they don't need to open and then download a PDF or whatever. No, we immediately show it in the email. So when they open the email, they already see these images and they are triggered to read it. So we show how many tests that we did, a bit of competition, the number of experiments per team. Always nice. It's like, I want to do better next time because the other team is doing better. A test of the week, etc. So this already also creates a lot of buzz and interaction and that mere exposure effect that you need for people to want to experiment. And promotion is not only internal, it's also external. So we participate in a lot of award shows as well. And on the one hand, it's nice. We already got a nice filled trophy cabinet with the Dutch CRO Award, Experimentation Culture Award, because we do like it when people say that we are doing a good job. But this is also for higher management. This is for internal promotion, because if you can show to your manager that you are actually being nominated or awarded for your job, then that will increase the buy-in for what you want to achieve. And the same actually goes for what I'm doing right now, presenting at conferences about the way we work. I'm definitely going to show like a cool picture of Riyadh in my next progress report, right? Because I want to share that I was invited by Optimizely and Content Square to present at their conference. That says that we are probably doing something right. And like we are award-winningly good, and we are being invited at conferences to present about what we do. So we are probably doing something good. I mean, there's one other unexpected benefit from it. It actually ensures good branding of VodafoneZiggo as a company to work at. We increasingly see in application letters that he or she would like to work for VodafoneZiggo because we are known to put high focus on conversion rate optimization. And they want to work with us. They also want to win awards. So in the long run, this will actually help us as well because we are getting the people in with an experimental mindset. Now, the last topic is if you have that motivation for your team, so they know about the value of A/B testing, and they know about it through all the advertising that you did. Well, that's one part. The other part is ability. You must be able to deliver it as well, right? Because if you cannot run experiments, then they can ask for it, but hey. So what we have done to improve the production process is for instance this one. Like, it was actually the most important one because we were doing a lot of experiments with a lot of different teams and we didn't have one clear process. So we needed to standardize that process to make sure that the quality was still up to par with so many teams doing experiments. So we wanted to have one overview of all the tests that we are doing. One central database, and we have chosen Airtable for this. Actually, a couple weeks back, I heard from Optimizely that I now have a new product called experimentation collaboration. It's actually doing the same thing, but back in the days, we didn't have any options, any other good alternatives. But here you can see like the A/B testing process. You start with an idea, then you go to design, to development, quality assurance, the test goes live, then you analyze it, and then it's finished, and you need to tell the organization. And we can clearly see how many tests are where in the process. You need that if you are doing more and more experiments. And one of the cool things about Airtable is that based on the same data sets, you can make different visualizations. So that was a Kanban board, but this is a gallery. So you can also choose to have a gallery, and then you can immediately, for instance, this is a gallery with all the tests that have finished. So here you can already scan like which test, the green ones were winner, the orange one didn't do anything, and the red ones were losers, and you can click on the reports and see more about what the test was all about. You need that database of learnings and insights to know what not to test next time, or what to do more of next time. Now, not everybody within VodafoneZiggo has access to Airtable because we have a limited amount of licenses. But we do want all of our stakeholders to be able to know all of the learnings and conclusions from our tests. Now, luckily, Airtable also has an API. And with this API, we send all the data from Airtable to Google BigQuery overnight. So it updates every night. And then based on this, we make a Looker Studio dashboard. Looker Studio is used within VodafoneZiggo for all of our dashboarding. So it's also not yet another tool that a stakeholder needs to learn to use, but they already know how this dashboarding tool works. So they just can filter on, I want to check out all the results of Vodafone sales of 2021 on the product page, and then you see here beneath, you can see all the learnings and hypotheses that you have already tested, so that you're not going to do things that were proven a loser or anything like that. So they take that into account. This really helps in the visibility of our learnings and insights. Now, this may already be a bit advanced, but I'm still proceeding with this, so sorry if I lose you. I know it's near the coffee break. But in order to increase the number of experiments that we do, I don't know how it is for you, but we always have a problem with development capacity. Rings a bell? Well, what we have done is in our content management system, we added a feature so that an editor or your content manager actually can build the A/B test. You just copy a block from the page, make the changes in that block, and then the editor can then just select, hide elements initially for A/B test. And then when the editor publishes the page, it will not be immediately visible. It will be displayed with what we call a CSS class of display none. So it's not visible, it's in the code, but you don't see it. And then in Optimizely, we can just easily put some CSS in there and say for that selector, just display block, and it's there. And we remove the other component with a display none. So this really helps in increasing the velocity of A/B testing without needing development. For our CRO specialists, we also made the life of them a bit easier because we automated the test analysis. If you're doing so many tests with so many different people, you need to automate it because it will be very labor intensive and prone to errors. So we actually built something in Google Sheets where basically the analyst can just select the KPIs or the metrics where the experiment focuses on the test dates and the details of the test, and just with a push of the button, that information is sent to Google BigQuery, pasted back in Google Sheets, and the analyst can just say, hey, we have a winner. That's it. But, well, the analysis doesn't stop there, because if I send this slide to my stakeholder, he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. What is this? I just see numbers. So we need a PowerPoint, because everything at VodafoneZiggo is a PowerPoint. So we built a standardized report, so that every report looks the same of an analysis. Also, again, that mere exposure effect. And we start off with the executive summary, because we can use that in our emails to inform our stakeholders. And then we put the whole PDF, like the whole analysis, in the attachment if they want to know more. And then we showcase, like, what was the test motivation and the hypothesis, the test setup, on which pages did it run, from what duration, and what were the visual changes. And then we go to the main result, was it a winner or not? And then some behavioral changes that we saw in the behavior of our customers. For instance, with content square zoning analysis. And then we end up with a business case, conclusions, and next actions. Now, this integration of the zoning analysis of Content Square is also largely automated. So there's a really nice integration between Optimizely and Content Square, where you only need, if you are in a zoning analysis, and maybe you have seen this before, you can select the audience of which you want to compare. And you have this, first you can select, I want to look at Optimizely web integration, blah, blah, blah. On the page with EZ24, that's the selector of our A/B test, and I want to compare the original with the variant. It's already being stored automatically, so you can easily select them which one you want to compare. And then you can make things like this. So this was an A/B test. And what you already see is that in the B, far more customers click on this button to proceed to the checkout. It's very visual. This is something your stakeholders will understand, instead of just raw numbers. And you also see what happens to the other call to actions on the page. So this really helps in explaining why we see something happening in our A/B test, and to clarify it. And this is far more visual. Again, visual is always better than just plain text. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you is how we optimized our production process, is that we really invested time in building a community with our CRO specialists. Because for us, the CRO specialists are dispersed around the company in different teams. And we want them also to work together to learn from each other and help each other. So we created a Microsoft Teams channel, just called CRO, very creative. And within that channel, we have different channels, so they can share interesting books and blogs, share tips, how to use ChatGPT to work even more efficient. A request for feedback, like I made an analysis, can you maybe also take a look and see if I did something wrong, or do you have any other suggestions? And you may have seen it, there's also a channel, Epic Fails and Wins. And what we try to do with that is that we try to normalize that you will make mistakes along the way. And that it's fine. You should not feel too embarrassed about your mistakes. And we take this even one step further, because we have an annual fail party. How fun is that? So with this annual fail party, we share all the fails that we had last year, and we're going to celebrate them. And we're going to have a battle for the best fail of the year. And look at Floriano. He won last year, and he's very, very proud of his glorious mistake. And this is what we want for the entire organization, that it is okay to be proven wrong. There's no shame in that. As long as you learn from it, just by experimenting what will work, you will grow, and your company will grow because of it. So if you want to grow your CRO program, treat it like a product. Determine the value proposition. Why should your colleagues care about experimentation? make it top of mind by advertising for it, internally and externally, and optimize the production process so it becomes as easy as possible to run more experiments. Thank you.